Greetings from the School of Athens. Crypto-Yogi here. We are going to continue with this discussion of principles. We're going to start with a couple of definitions here. Principle is a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior or for a chain of reasoning. A principle is a fundamental truth or proposition serving as a foundation. We also have a definition here in terms of value, and we hear a lot about value in cryptocurrency, money talk. We hear about store of value, value transfer, exchange of value. In this sense here, a principle is a concept or value that is a guide for behavior or evaluation. So in this sense, a principle is a value for evaluation. Now let's consider some fundamentals for the Bitcoin, some principles of the Bitcoin protocol. Perhaps most strikingly, most first and foremost beauty, value of the Bitcoin protocol is the censorship resistant value transfer. This proposition of being a censorship resistant value transfer. Let me add here that it's decentralized. This is really important because it's the decentralized, distributed aspect of this which lends so much power into this censorship resistant value transfer. It is peer-to-peer and discrete. It's direct. If we go to the Milton Friedman article from previously, it's not by Milton Friedman, it's from Cointelegraph, but here we have him again. And it's mentioned here that he's talking about a reliable but discrete, okay, transferring value from A to B without A knowing B or B knowing A. It's trustless. So A doesn't know B, B doesn't know A, but the trust is based on the protocol, on the algorithm, on the proof of work. There's no need for a third party or counterparty, a trusted third party. As well, we've got the immutable ledger, meaning that there is this disincentive to tamper with or to attack the blockchain, and therefore it's tamper-proof, or at least we should say tamper-resistant. And this is a really big principle as well, this immutable ledger. Of course, another big principle of any money is the network effect. Without the network effect, it is valueless, or at least the value is very minimal. But here we see the network effect of cryptocurrencies, in particular of Bitcoin, growing exponentially. Less than a decade, all of this growth and a network effect of like-minded people coming together and moving forward in our social evolution. Another big principle of the Bitcoin, of the cryptocurrencies in general, is that they are a free market money, a free market value transfer mechanism. The important idea, the important fundamental here is free market, freedom, freedom of exchange. And another big foundation of the Bitcoin is that it disrupts the legacy institutions and these analog paradigms. I called it analog paradigms in opposition to the digital paradigms that we seem to be moving towards. And these digital paradigms are helping us to unlock more and more freedom. Now, if we go here to this Farnham Street blog, a post about being open or closed-minded. We see a beautiful quote attributed to F. Scott Fitzgerald that the test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. To hold those two opposed ideas in your mind, but still be able to think clearly, to be able to function emotionally. This is the test of a first-rate intelligence. This blog post mentions Ray Dalio and his book, Principles. And we talked about some of the comments that were made by Ray Dalio in the previous video that he made with CNBC. But one thing I wanted to point out here is that the rate at which you learn and progress in the world depends on how willing you are to weigh the merits of new ideas, even if you don't instinctively like them, perhaps especially if you don't like them. This is really important. And we can notice the people who are very skeptical about Bitcoin, let's say, are they showing a willingness to weigh the merit of the new ideas even if they don't like them? Are they willing to take both sides of the argument? Now, a man like Ray Dalio, I'm expecting that he is willing to do such a thing. I believe he's too wise not to. But some other things that are stated here is, for example, that open-minded people believe that they could be wrong, and they ask genuine questions. And in fact, they ask more questions than making statements. They know when to make statements and when to ask questions. And a lot of their purpose is for reaching a collective understanding, so that it's not about who's right and who's wrong, or even what's right and what's wrong per se. It's more about what do we understand together? How can we raise up our understanding so that we can be better human beings and function even better in this world? So if Ray Dalio were to say some of these things that he said in this video clip in particular, some questions that I would ask of him are, for example, Mr. Dalio, do you think, what do you think about free market currencies? Do you think that a sovereign should be the only one, that money should be centralized and monopolized by the government of the region? Or do you believe that the free market is well equipped to handle that function of money creation and proliferation? That would be probably one of my main questions to him. And now if we think about it, what is it that these sovereign institutions known as governments, what is it that scares them? Well, it has a lot to do with control, losing control. And we see here seigniorage or seigniorage. Seigniorage is the profit made by a government by issuing currency. Now, we can also tie in central banks and as well, we call them commercial banks, into this, because there for a long time now has been an interplay between the central banking model, the governments, and the commercial banks, which purchase the debt instruments of a sovereign nation for interest payments. But the sovereign nation themselves could issue the currency without going into debt. However, This system has been set up where it is now a debt-based fiat monetary system, and there's a lot to lose here for these institutions, the governments, their central banking institutions, and the commercial banking institutions, um, which make a killing literally on this stuff. And so we see here as Mr. John McAfee, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, one of those ways. Anybody correct me if I'm wrong here, but he sees it. So the headline here is "It's War. Cryptocurrency Advocate Warns of Looming Conflict with Sovereign Governments." That this is what's coming. This is what's coming. We see where the difficulties are going to be found. And this just brings to the last comment. It's a good opportunity to consider this message that Adam Back sent us on Twitter, writing that it might be a useful moment to reflect on the widely underappreciated comment, "Bitcoin depends on censor-resistant bandwidth." I'm not sure who originated that comment. It could be Adam himself or Peter Todd BTC. I didn't dig into it, but basically the point stands. It is an underappreciated comment that Bitcoin depends also on a censor-resistant bandwidth. Maybe that's why we've started to get some satellites involved. But ultimately, it shows us that yes, freedom will always be fighting against the controls, the external controls, the censors. It will always be having a difficulty against these forces. However, that should never stop us from seeking freedom, from pushing for freedom, even when it's uncomfortable, maybe even when it hurts as well. So that's it for now from the School of Athens. We're still talking, we're still thinking, we're still contemplating. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Like the video if you like it. Thumb it down if you don't like it. And especially share this with one friend whom you trust and whom you care about. Thanks for your time, and we'll be back soon. Keep well.